Hard hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
On to the next one. What's up, Sherrod?
What's up,
In
Jimmy?
the building.
What's going on, Zannis?
Sherrod's our Gino. He shows up for the blowouts, John. You know?
Yeah.
That's what we love. We don't care. We love it. We love to see it. Celtics are moving on. The Magic, I feel bad. It felt like it was going to be game 87 that the Magic were going to figure out how to shoot the basketball, but they just couldn't get there. They just couldn't get there. Maybe next year, Magic will learn that scoring is important. Defense is also important, but good offense beats good defense.
It doesn't hurt that. It doesn't hurt that Paolo picked up 5 fouls.
You want to talk about that? As soon as that happened, the game ended, Sherrod.
You know it was a wrap. It was a wrap. It was a wrap.
He's the only guy that can. I mean, shout out Wagner too, but man, Banchero's sweet. That's one thing I took out of this series is that dude's. He's going places. He's going to be a good player.
Oh, you like that guy?
Yeah, I got a good feeling about him.
He might be able to play in this league for a little bit, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think he's gonna stick around.
Jimmy's not afraid to go out on a limb here.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
Hot take, Jimmy.
But man, for as good as he is, maybe the most foolish stretch of basketball I've seen all year, picking up 3 fouls like that within 3 minutes of the second half, and just effectively
less than 3 minutes,
eliminating your chances there. And they had to get him out of the game after that 4th foul. I mean, that's a coaching miscue too, but. Hey, that's the Magic. They're old news. Celtics are moving on. It's going to be either Detroit or New York. Detroit pulled it off tonight, extended that series, so the Celtics get even a little bit of a longer break maybe. We'll see. But, yeah, first half of this one was a slog.
It was Orlando's game.
It was Orlando's game, physical, ugly basketball from the Celtics, sleepwalking around, fumbling around with the ball, letting the Magic grab offensive rebounds, put back second chance points. Really, the only reason the Magic were in this game was for second chance opportunities and the fact that they were preventing the Celtics from hitting any of those outside shots. I may have texted you guys. I just basically said, like, the difference in this game is that the Celtics will eventually hit some threes. And again, Banchero, eliminating himself was a huge part of it. But right around that same time, the threes started to fall for Boston, and they did not look back.
Yeah,
and that's the show.
Well,
see you guys. Game 1, we think Saturday. We'll see you guys later.
We'll talk to you then.
Talk to you then.
Buy some
merch. Buy some merch. See you later.
Buy some merch. Yeah, yeah. 12 more, 20% off.
I'll go. So, hi, welcome to the show.
Hey, John.
Hi, John.
You are watching the Garden Report Postgame Live, the most watched Celtics podcast in maybe the universe, honestly.
I would say so.
Okay, certainly here, certainly locally, probably the world. I don't know any other world.
Well, I'll tell you what. We ship more hard hats around the world than anybody else does.
Tariffs be damned. You're getting your hard hat. Yeah. So
tariffs, no tariffs. We go everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. The show we are a proud member of the CLNS Media Network, as you may or may not know. Many of you do know. The show is also brought to you in part by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Check out Game Time. Let's also check out Joe Mazzulla at the podium.
So, timeout. Did you wanted to play that play like 3 times in a row, or the first time work and you just asked the guy to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple counters to it, so just wanted to test the coverages, and the guys did a great job going through the progressions. They do a tremendous job of changing coverages and matchups throughout, and they're really physical. And so we just needed to have certain layers of actions, and the guys just did a great job going through the progressions, of that play.
Joe, it feels like Jalen has been super intentional about pushing the pace off misses and makes these last 2 games. After game 3, where it felt like they slowed you down a little bit and kept you, in the backcourt for long. What has that done for you guys' offense?
Yeah, I mean, he's been intentional in every area of the game. I think, as he, once he got healthy to start off the series, his defense is back to kind of, where it was throughout the season. And just his playmaking. I mean, his efficiency this series was up. He does a great job of getting to his spot, getting the shot that he wants, or getting it for his teammates. I thought a big play was the kick-out three that he made to Al in front of our bench. I think that kind of started our offensive poise after we turned it over there. So I think he's just been, tremendous in all areas. And again, he has the ability to take it to another level mentally and physically. And I thought he did that to start the third quarter for us.
It was a physical series. They kind of took you out of a lot of stuff you normally do offensively. What did Jayson do throughout this series to kind of navigate that and stay poised in a lot of the bigger moments?
Yeah, I mean, we did a good job of understanding how they were defending. Every team has different strengths and weaknesses. Every team guards us differently. I thought the regular season gave us tremendous data on the different ways that we were going to be defended and what that looks like. And so he did a great job of staying patient, going through his progressions, whether it was him screening in the first couple games, him handling the last few games, and in this game, in the third quarter, his play there. So at the end of the day, every game is different. Every team is different. You'd have to be ready to answer the call, play solution-oriented basketball, and I thought he did that.
You talked about how every team has different strengths and weaknesses, but how much did dealing with their physicality throughout the series and how they protected the perimeter prepare you and benefit you guys for future series?
Yeah, I mean, they had to deal with our physicality as well, and they had to deal with our defense. And I thought both teams, I thought that was the theme of the series, was the trenches and the physicality there. And every series, every game presents lessons. You have to take those lessons if you're fortunate to move on. So there's a lot that we can learn from this series, and we got to be ready for whoever we play against.
I know you were asked this before the game, but you guys got the win, and now you have a little bit of chance to rest. How important is that to make quick work of a series like this in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, good and bad. I mean, it can be good, it can be bad. I mean, we'll exit the arena for a couple of days, but that could be good. But I think as you start to get ready for the next series, you got to re-enter the arena and you got to get ready. So, we'll take the days that we need, and then we'll get right back at even without knowing an opponent. There's stuff that we have to get better at. So, both of those things are important.
Joe, like you said, we don't know your next opponent quite yet, but what stands out to you in general about the Knicks and the Pistons?
The margins. You got to be able to rebound. You got to be able to defend without fouling. You got to be able to take care of the basketball.
Okay.
Shut it down. No one wants the next one.
Joe, the discussion a lot on the outside has been the fact that they've limited your threes, but even despite that, going into tonight, there was still a 3-1 lead, and you guys have been, either leading or hanging in there. Was it a point of pride for you guys that you were able to win in different ways, something you've talked about a lot throughout the year, and not necessarily just need the 3-point shot to fall to?
I mean, it's never been at the end of the day, we have to, how are we being guarded? What are the matchups? How can we create an advantage? That's the most important thing. And, this year more than the past, we've dealt with a variety of matchups and coverage, puzzles, and we have to solve those. And so that's the most important thing. So our guys did a great job of having understanding what's the matchup, what's the coverage, what's the best read versus that coverage. Our free throw rate was 30%. So it was 10% higher in this playoffs than it was in the entire regular season. So you just have to find different ways. You have to be able to go to different things. And our drives per game were up, and our free throw rate was up, and that's what this series called for. And every series, every game calls for different stuff. And I think the best thing this team has done this season is just have an understanding. You have to be able to win in different ways on both sides of the ball.
Joe, you mentioned the margins. Was there anything in the second half that allowed you guys to control those a little bit more?
Yeah, we didn't turn it over in the third quarter.
Simple as that?
That's that simple. Occam's razor.
I love it.
Thank you.
Oh, he's so smart.
Walk off.
Well, wait, what was the last thing that he said?
Occam's razor.
Got it.
It's not really applicable here, but it doesn't matter.
Sure.
I
don't even think I know what that means.
It's the most obvious solution is usually the right one.
Got it.
Sometimes the thing that makes the most sense is just the thing. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Back to Joe and back to the game. Google it. Toscano.
Yeah, literally.
Made
No.
popular in the movie Contact, maybe? They talked about it there. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're back. Celtics win. They knock out the Magic, 120-89. Celtics win the series. Look, we make fun of margins, but let's talk about margins. 16 of Orlando's first 19 points came off of turnovers or second chance opportunities. So, yeah, margins were bad, okay? Everything was bad. And then they come out in the second half, and the Celtics give up two. I think they turned it over right away and gave up two offensive rebound putbacks right out of the gate in the second half too. And it's like, oh, come on, guys. And then everybody knows what happened here. And it's, you don't want to say entirely based off of one guy, because I do think the Celtics also started like playing their best basketball after that. But it was 9:36. Paolo gets back-to-back fouls there at the 10-something mark, about a minute and a half into the third quarter. Then he gets another one at the 9:36 mark for his fifth. First of all, I thought Mosley, hats off to the Magic for the whole series, the way they played tough. The three straight games, the Celtics' lowest three-point output in terms of attempts all season long. They did what they wanted to do. The dam just broke when Paolo went out of the game.
Yeah.
I don't understand leaving him in with the fourth foul that early. You got to just try and survive that third quarter. When you think it's getting out of hand, lead gets to double digits, bring him back in, and then roll with it there. But if you could survive the rest of that quarter there, you're playing with fire. But to leave him in to get him that fifth foul just took the air out of Orlando, I think, entirely. And they closed the third quarter on a 30-9 run following Banchero's fifth foul when he left the game there. And by that point, it was all over but the crying. It was a tie game, and that was it. Bang, bang, bang. And they just took over completely. So it wasn't all Banchero, but Orlando went 0 for 11 from 3 in that quarter. They couldn't get anything going. The Celtics went 5 of 8 from 3. But they started playing. They looked Celtics-y for the first time all series. Like, that's the first time where it's like, here it is. This is what they do. Swing, swing, swing. Get the shot. Move the ball. It just wasn't working before. So I'm going to credit Orlando's offense for completely going in the tank when Banchero went there. But I don't know what got into the Celtics, but they just started playing better. And they did. It was a really interesting game. Tatum was outstanding the whole game long, in total control. Masterclass performance for him. But Brown looked friggin' dreadful in the first quarter, to the point I'm like, get him out of the game. And then second quarter, he eased into it. And then the third quarter and the rest of the game, he looked like a completely different human being. So I don't know, this injury takes him a little while to ramp up or whatever it is. I mean, he was hobbling. He was standing around. When Wagner went by him in the first quarter, I was like, what's going on with this guy? So he turned it on. Finally, you got some good bench contributions. It was just like, oh, that's what they do to teams. That's the Celtics. It's the first time they appeared really all series, I thought.
No, they needed a game like this for so many reasons. I mean, we talk all the time about them having this deep squad where they can win lots of different ways, but if we're being honest and real, they really don't. They beat the snot out of you by bombing threes all game long, and this was really the first time where they had to find a way to win without the 3-point weapon. They did not have their binky in this series. They had to find something else to frankly get them over, and I give them a lot of credit. I mean, Orlando did so many things that Orlando wanted to do in this series. They forced the Celtics to play a brand of basketball that Boston did not want to play. And I give the Celtics credit. They showed a level of, frankly, versatility that I knew was there, but we haven't really had a chance to see it. And the point that you made about Jaylen, John, I thought the second half was maybe the best half we've seen in this series from Jaylen. When he had a dunk, he made a mid-range jump shot off 2 feet, which we have rarely seen in this series. He started doing some of the things that we have grown to expect from him. For me, it gives me the sense that his health may be getting back to where it was pre-missing games at the end of the season. And if that's the case, the timing could not be perfect. Could not be any better when you look at who's around the corner, because Detroit or New York, they're going to challenge him in ways that he just wasn't challenged in this Orlando series.
Yeah, what I liked about Jaylen tonight in that second half was he was seeking out like contact. He was looking to get guys in the air. draw contact, get to the line. I mean, he's the reason that Banchero picked up that 5th foul. So a lot of great things to love about Jalen's performance in the second half. I liked the dunk, but I liked the move that he made to free himself up for that cut on the knee that you want to see. You want to make sure that he can move that way. That was the thing that really stood out to me. And the dunk, I would say, it's always nice to see him get up for one. It's still, and then still not throwing it down as hard as we've seen, but you got the scream out of him tonight. And just that second half performance in general from Boston. Now, I know Mazzulla wants to talk about turnovers, but the offensive glass was another issue that the Celtics had tonight, and letting Orlando grab so many offensive rebounds that they did. Not necessarily turnovers, but that did create those second chance points there. Now, once the 3 started falling in the second half, they were able to get back on defense and prevent, some of those runs that the Magic could go on. And you just knew that when Banchero left the game, there's just nobody else. There's just that's a wrap. I mean, it was still technically close at that point, but you just knew that Orlando at that point, there was just no way. There was nothing they could do to keep up with Boston, because at some point Boston was going to go on a little bit of run and Orlando just was not going to have the firepower to do anything about it.
The fear was just simply that the Celtics, it was weird. It was weird energy. Tatum, who I thought was playing very well offensively in the first half, like I said, Brown didn't look right, and I think that dunk was the first. It was like, wait a second, that was good. And then everything after that, like he got into the flow, but he didn't start out looking great. Porzingis is still battling the same stuff. The physicality was brutal. He just couldn't hit his post ups, couldn't do anything.
He barely made a sound tonight.
He did, he's unnoticeable. So you're like, oh God, there's no Holiday already, and you don't have your Brown looks like he's in the tank here, and you're getting nothing out of Porzingis. So Tatum thankfully was kind of holding it together a little. He's the only guy doing anything, but also his energy was weird. He wasn't sharp defensively, and he was particularly brutal on the glass. He was responsible for a couple of guys leaking in and getting uncontested rebounds. It resulted in a couple of dumb fouls at the end of the quarter, and then he let somebody kind of walk in early in the third too. So the whole game was weird energy. It just didn't feel Celtics like. It was like, I think they thought like Orlando was going to cave, and they didn't, and they just weren't ready to get after it. I don't know what it was in that first half. And again, the sloppy stuff, live ball turnovers, all of that stuff, they're just giving them buckets. It's an offensively challenged team. If you play defense and take care of the basketball, it almost doesn't matter what you do offensively. That was my joke of the prediction the whole time. It was like, the Celtics will win the series because they'll score 100 points and Orlando will not. That's all you had to do. But really, really weird. And again, credit to Orlando for taking them out of their game there a little bit. But everything just completely clicked over. I always wish Joe would tell us if he said something or did something or they figured it out. But different team. And the turnovers do matter. I mean, they didn't have their first turnover until late in that third quarter or whatever. Maybe it was into the fourth for the whole second half.
Yeah.
That's game change. Just take care of the ball, move the ball.
They had 5 in the first.
Guard your yard, put a body on a guy, go into the glass and wrap it up, go home.
So much of it was effort though. I mean, Orlando just played harder and to start the game. It just didn't make any kind of sense to me. How could you, with a chance to not only put this team away, but give yourself some rest, because you pretty much knew that Detroit, they were probably going to win Game 5. But it's the way that series is going. It made sense that they get that. So why in the world are you playing with fire? I mean, it was inexplicable the first half why the game was as close as it was, when Orlando really wasn't doing anything special. They were just simply working harder at both ends of the floor. It was as if when the ball goes on the rim, the Celtics were looking around and just ball watching instead of putting a body on a guy. I mean, that the offensive rebounding that Orlando was able to do in the first half was inexcusable. And I think if you're Joe Mazzulla, you like where you're at right now, because your team was able to put these guys away in pretty short fashion. But they made so many boneheaded mental errors that when you go back in the film and you talk about we have to be better, you don't have to stretch. to make that point. There's so many examples of things that they need to get better at. And if you're Joe Mazzulla, this was a perfect storm for a coach to put a team away quickly, but do so leaving tons of room for improvement.
So dumb. You're muted. Yeah.
Where did the gorilla thing come from? Just one guy's tweet?
Yeah, seriously.
That's it? And it just picked up steam?
It happened over the weekend. And it just
I know,
like
I saw it, but I was like, it was all based off of that?
For the record, I'm taking the gorilla, and it's not even close.
I'm taking the gorilla.
Not even close.
It's like no one wants to be the first person to get their head taken off by the gorilla.
As soon as I see the gorilla just like snap a guy and like eat the body, I'm going in the other direction with the other.
I don't think anybody can hurt a gorilla.
No. You can be like, oh, he's gonna gouge his eyes out.
It's too early in the show for me to tell you about. Too early in the show for me to tell you about a bar fight we got into in our 20s against the biggest, most hulking dude in the history of the world. There's like a Marine, and there was like 8 of us, and he was laughing the whole time. He's like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding?" It was like, I don't want to hit him.
Yeah,
you hit him. No, you hit him.
This guy's gonna kill us.
How did it start?
One of my buddies walked away from that fight with 2 black. He had to board a plane going to see all of his relatives in another country for the first time ever with 2 black eyes.
Oh
and then the swelling on the plane like blew him up to here. And he said he showed up and they're like, "You friggin' meathead." Anyway, yeah, I'm taking the gorilla. I'm taking the gorilla, no question about it.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah, so that was good.
You're not going to get 100. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
we'll get into it later.
100 Joe Mazzullas.
Now that might be a fight. That might be a fight.
Yes, exactly.
I'm still taking the gorilla.
I'm taking the gorilla, man. Yeah. Yeah. If you could clone yourself 100 times and sacrifice 99 of yourself, then maybe you could do it, right? You know, but I don't know. I'm taking the gorilla. It's too early for gorillas and bar fights.
I don't even know what the hell that means.
Yeah. So let's talk
100 of me, I'm sorry, is not going to beat the gorilla. So I would not clone myself.
Yeah. So before you're looking ahead here, because we don't know what we're looking ahead to, because the Detroit Pistons, who should probably be up 3-2, are down 3-2, still alive, but this gives the Celtics a little bit of a chance to rest up, get Holiday right, whatever you need there with that situation here. So that's definitely good news. And you got to say that the Celtics drew the better side of that bracket, you know, because you're looking at Cleveland and the way Indiana's playing. And Indiana's a team at the beginning of the year I said I was most afraid of. And, you know, still am. I'm actually physically sick for the Bucks and their fans watching that game and that collapse. Physically sick. I don't know how else to.
You know what though? That's Rick Carlisle. That's who he is. That's who he's. There's a Rick Carlisle, because when it was 118-114 with I think like 30 seconds to play, you pretty much expect to win at that point if you're the Bucks. And the Bucks, they just buckled. They choked. They absolutely choked. They're just, and they choked because of Indiana, just the execution that the Pacers. I mean, Indiana could not have played down the stretch any better than they did. And on the game winner, you know, the most overrated player in the league apparently wasn't overrated when he drove to the lane with the layup over Giannis.
Did you see his tweet?
No,
he tweeted that the overrated thing. Yeah.
He was. I mean, he came through when he
overrate that.
Oh, okay. If you're a Bucks fan,
you're sick right now.
Are staring at the ceiling right now. You're not asleep. The game's been over for a couple. You're not asleep. You're staring at the ceiling. Not only did you lose the game, not only did you lose the series, but you might have lost Giannis too, because Dame is done for another year, unfortunately. And they are at a crossroads. They have so many things going in the wrong direction for them that they might have no choice but to trade Giannis. He might force them to, A, and B, they still might have to anyways because they need to rebuild.
Hey, you know
they
what,
don't even have picks.
And here's the thing, Jimmy. Want to know a little secret? The front office that drafted Giannis, out of from Greece. That's the front office of the Orlando Magic.
Interesting. Just
And
what the Magic need, another guy who can't shoot.
You know what? He can defend, and he can score.
Except at the end. Yes.
I saw something on Twitter about maybe Bradley Beal being a good match for Orlando. Obviously, he doesn't defend, but he can score.
We're in the Bradley Beal portion of this show. It's way too early.
It's Orlando. It was Orlando talk first.
As far as this game goes, again, one of the good things about the Orlando being done with the Orlando is that you'll never have to face anyone who's going to do what Orlando did to you here. So again, a lot of the things that I think people
not if they get to the NBA Finals, John.
Not until later. But I think a lot of the concerns people are having with what they saw with the Celtics here, like there's definitely like people like what's wrong with KP. KP was playing really well. And KP has been shooting the ball really well, and but Magic knocked him out of this game, out of his game completely here. That's not going to happen against the Knicks. Sure, the Pistons are a little bit more physical, and that'll be a more of a a slog than the Knicks series would be. But you do think that certain things that the Celtics do are going to free up a little bit here. And, the Knicks have some issues defensively. They're going to have a tougher time matching up with the Celtics. So that's going to bring a lot of things into play that weren't into play here. You definitely want to see Holiday get healthy here. But like what that you saw in this series gives you any pause or concern going forward? I don't have a ton beyond health because I think a lot of the things correct themselves. Like I thought this would be an ugly series, and it was an ugly series, with maybe a blowout mixed in and a loss, and that's kind of what ended up happening. But I thought, Orlando just didn't have the firepower. But anything that happened here, you guys are thinking like, I don't love this. Like I want to keep my eye on this rather. Yeah.
The thing about Porzingis, and specifically how he seemed to not be able to make the most of those mismatches when he had a smaller guy on him. I think back to when he was in Dallas. I think back to when he was in Washington, and how Marcus Smart used to give him fits defensively. If you have an undersized but physically strong core guy defending him, he struggles a little bit with that. So if you're against if they're playing the Knicks, you're hoping that the Robinson guy is out there a lot, because that's going to allow him to play more traditional big, where I think he can be effective. And if they're playing Detroit, same thing. Detroit doesn't really have a stretch big, so there's some things that he should be able to do in that series too. But if there's anything that, if I'm Detroit, if I'm New York, that I'm picking up, I might have Josh Hart out there defending Kristaps Porzingis. I just might do that if I'm the Knicks, because again, if you look at the guys that gave Porzingis the most trouble, it was undersized wings.
The Knicks are such a different team than Orlando, and they're really a different team than they even were last year, right? After the offseason that they had. I think offensively the Celtics are going to find it much easier. Obviously, they're going to find it much easier to get where they want to get, to go on runs. And ultimately I'm hopeful that will spark the bench a little bit, because that was really one of my big takeaways from this is that, the Celtics, have, an unbelievable starting, 5 or 6 players when all healthy. And all year they've been able to rely on Luke, rely on Pritchard, rely on Hauser. So, and that makes them, 9 deep, pretty strong. But you started to see in this series what happens when a guy is out, like Holiday. You start to see what happens when another 1 or 2 guys are hurt or playing hurt.
Pritchard can't get any shots off.
Yeah, the physicality, the size kind of limited Pritchard a little bit. Hauser could not get anything going on his own. And Luke Cornett, although he did have a good game tonight, and we'll give it to him, overall for that series, I'm sure he'd be the first guy to tell you that he was not effective in the way that he had hoped to be. So that depth is a little bit of a concern for me.
If he did that second half, man.
Yeah, he did. He really did. But
again, you've got some big bench. You got some, if you don't want to play the plus minus game as the most important staff, Cornett plus 23, Pritchard plus 29, with both with like strong second half performances that were.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Magic kind of fell apart here in the second half. I think they saw
They did.
I think when they watched Banchero go to the bench, I think that kind of just like deflated them, and they kind of all knew what was about to happen, and then the wheels fell off. And so I'm obviously going to give the Celtics credit, and I'm going to give the players out there credit, but I'm not going to get too hung up on the plus minus here, just on a one half of basketball. Looking over at the overall series, there were definitely some issues that you could find with matchups and with the way that Magic was able to play the Celtics. And I'm wondering now if teams like the Knicks or if it's the Pistons or whoever moving forward, they had a lot of film to watch now. And I know that you still have to have the right players to be able to execute defensively, but I think Orlando was very effective in the way they were able to eliminate the Celtics' ability to shoot as many threes as they typically do. And that's why in the regular season, when there was like a month or so of like all the NBA could talk about was how unfair it was and how the league is going in the wrong direction and it's all about threes. And we went on the show and we said, do something about it. Stop them then. Stop crying about it. They're telling you and showing you exactly what they're going to do every single game. Go out there and stop them from doing it. Well, you got to give the Magic credit. It was the only way they were going to be able to compete in this one because Missoula understands that it's a numbers game and it's all about maximizing your opportunities and shooting as many threes and making as many threes and blah, 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 blah. Orlando took them out of that. And because they did, they were able to compete. I don't think anyone thought Orlando was going to win the series, but I think they did surprise a lot of people in the way that they competed, even though they did lose 4 out of those 5 games. Moving forward, how are the Knicks, how are the Cavs going to take what the Magic were able to do and do that to an extent? But also those teams can score. They don't need to be as effective defensively as the Magic were because they won't be as god-awful offensively as the Magic were. So that's one of the concerns I think I do have moving forward out of this series. And the other thing is, real quick, is that the Celtics couldn't really instill their will. They couldn't play their game. They couldn't dominate the way the Cavs did and the way like the Thunder have and the way that some of these other top teams have. So that's really what the one thing.
I wouldn't say, like I said, it's the Magic. It's the best defense in the conference. And you knew it would.
That's what they do.
It would be this way. One thing I wanted to, not a concern, but to say, it's really amazing. You know, the Celtics played that game without Jayson Tatum, and there was concern like, oh God, is this going to linger? Tatum's gone for 36, 37, and 35 in the 3 games with his injured wrist. He didn't miss a free throw, and he took a shit ton of them, like 30-something free throws in those games too, which is banana. Double-digit free throws in each game, and he made them all. But I will say this, and just piggybacking off of something Joe said earlier, Tatum, I think the quote was patience. Great job staying patient, going through his progressions. End of the day, every game's different, every team's different, yada, yada. Tatum showed remarkable patience in this game because it was frustrating. Yeah, well, I mean, look, just look at tonight. 35 points on 16 shots. Give me a break, okay?
That's
never
ridiculous.
see that.
Banana land. Okay. He tried to force the issue a little bit more, 25, 22 shots in the other games. And, you know, jacking threes, 10 threes and 10 threes each of the last 2 games. So even though Orlando was taking it away, he was forcing the issue. He didn't do it at all tonight. And like, it was just that slow burn. In the first half, he's playing well. He didn't blow the doors off it. He didn't go nuclear. He just kind of waited it out. But he was so in control and patient with his approach here. You know, because again, we're talking about, what was it, a game or 2 ago where he had, you know, the 2 games ago, he has the 7 turnovers. Last 2 games, he's got the ball and his ball in the hands the whole time.
Yeah.
Two turnovers each game there. And just tonight, I thought he was really, really, really smart and really great and really patient and like super in control. And again, it's just that continued, like, just climb up that ladder of like, he's still not as good as he could potentially be. But he's playing like this version of Tatum is the best player in the NBA. Like, I mean, or close to it. that's kind of game changing, because it's like if you're going to be a little bit reduced with Brown being at an 80-90% sort of thing, or you have matchups where your bench gets taken out of it a little bit, it falls on the stars' shoulders to be stars. And Tatum was capital S star the last 2 games, like capital S, no question.
Plus 34 is second highest of the year for him.
He was
incredible.
He was everything. Like, this is my dream Tatum, right? That, like, I mean, the points were a ton because he got to the free throw line a ton, but the 16-shot Tatum who only takes 5 or 6 threes, mwah, give me that guy. You know, like, that's what I want all the time. I freaking love that. Take the threes in rhythm. Sure, throw in a heat chick every once in a while if you really, really want to, but just control the pace, control the ball, you know. Don't just dribble it out and wait and try to ISO. And, you know, because he even in these last couple of games, he did run into those problems a little bit where he just got a little bit too, you know, dribble, and that stagnated the offense. He was unreal tonight. Unreal.
Well, I mean, he's dribbling with purpose now. Before you just went like, what the hell are you doing? And now it's like, oh, he's actually probing the defense, looking for guys, you know, to get open. And he had a couple of really sick dimes that he was able to drop, the kind of plays that we all know that 2-3 years ago, there's no way he would even thought about making that pass. He would have taken a contested shot or kept dribbling. So we're seeing this before our very eyes. Tatum continue to evolve into being not just, you know, a really good player in the NBA, but he's trending more and more towards being one of the best to do this. It seems like every other month during the regular season, he's doing something that no Celtic has done at that point in their career. And again, Tatum, he's been the best player in the playoffs. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot
leveling
that you
up.
can say about.
That's what you want. You know, that's what you want. So again, people get all in their feelings about it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we all know what Tatum did to contribute to last year's title. But, you know, you're not beating the allegations when you're shooting 20% from 3 and, you know, 30% from the series. Like, people want to see the Stars do more. They don't want to be told that, like, well, you know, his gravity is the reason that they were able to get so many shots and he drew defenders. He did all of that. But then on top of that, you want him to be – he's in a great place right now with his step back, the mid-range – that mid-range step back, or the one that he's kind of running from the post a little bit closer to the basket, is deadly right now. That, and I said it last game too. That's his ticket to get the F out of my way. I'm unstoppable now. And he drained a lot of those shots in people's face. Orlando made him take some tough shots, and he hit some tough shots. So he was out of his mind. We're going to hear from a couple more guys at the podium. We also have Peyton Pritchard queued up in the.
We got some super chats we got to get through too.
And I want to get to a bunch of super chats as well. So thank you guys for donating to that. But a couple of quick plugs before we do that. We want to let you know first off about our pals over at Game Time. And yeah, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time right freaking now. Okay. Get to the playoffs. Good energy tonight. I guarantee Bobby and Noah step in here. They're going to talk about a really, really good Garden crowd, because you could tell, right? 3 games into it, and they're waiting for the Celtics. They're waiting for the Celtics to be the Celtics. That third quarter into the fourth, you could sense it. You know, you can almost feel the crowd willing those threes in. You really got to get to the playoffs to kind of feel that vibe. So Game Time is your ticket to the playoffs. Get in there if you can. Get tickets fast and easy. Prices go down the closer it gets to tip-off. All-in pricing, yes, give me that. You can see that right away. Panoramic views from your seat. The closer you get to, panoramic views from your seat, so you know exactly what it's going to look like. Lowest price guarantee, or Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. Jimmy, tell them what the offer is.
The offer is $20 off your first purchase when you use the code CLNS. You're going to download the Game Time app, create an account, toss in that promo code, and you get $20 off your first purchase. Guys, tickets are already out there on Game Time for Game 1 of the next series. We don't know who it's going to be at, but you can still get your tickets already. The get-in price, all in, John. Any guesses right now with the get-in prices on Game Time for Game 1?
I'll pull it up later.
Round?
We'll take a look. But yeah,
I have it. I just didn't.
Oh, you do? Well, I wanted to set one more thing. This is important. Game Time wants us to let you know last minute deals save up to 60% off buying last minute deals.
Oh, wow.
On sports, concerts, comedy theaters. You can really, I'm not saying wait it out, but you can get some ridiculous last minute deals. What do you have, Jimmy?
$318 right now. So it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be still going to be worth it. If you want to watch a little piece of history, a lot of people think this Celtics team could go back to back. And I'll tell you one thing, the games aren't going to get any cheaper. So if you want to get your eyes on this team, this might be your best opportunity to do that. Game Time's the place to be. And if you want to wait it out, you can pull it Toscano. You can go to one of the bars around the game. You might miss the national anthem. That's okay. You get in there right around the time where things start to get interesting in the first quarter, and you look back.
Well, I'm looking at it, Jimmy. I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing better stuff than you're seeing.
What do you mean?
Let's see right now. TBD
I said 3-8
game 1. I'm seeing 243, my man.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
So not bad. You could check that out.
That's really good. 243.
I guess maybe it's a little bit
the
different
Toscano
on the
tax,
desktop
the
right now.
Toscano tariff probably knocked it up a little bit for you. So
I don't see that number there. That's unbelievable.
Don't worry about it, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Whatever. Either
also,
way.
Jimmy, tell them a little bit about the merch real quick before we move on to the rest of our show.
Here we go. John's got me in the 20-second clock. Here we go. Okay. Use the code 12 more. Everybody knows why. 12 more wins. Every time the Celtics win, we put a promo code up to get 20% off everything in the merch store. That's t-shirts, sweatshirts, beanies, string bags, hard hats are going. We got the hard hats, guys. Get them in. You want to have your hard hats for the second round here. But please use the promo code 12 more to get your discount. A lot of good stuff in there. Sleep masks are coming. Sleep masks are coming this week, I'm told. We're going to have sleep masks before the next round starts. Keep your eyes peeled for the sleep masks.
12 more. And wear that stuff. If you wear that stuff to a game, anything you get from our merch store, take a picture and send it to us, please. We want to be able to show everybody what we got.
I'll sign your hard hats. No, I won't do that. I don't want to ruin your hard hat.
No, don't ruin the hard hat.
No.
I signed an autograph one time, Jimmy. It was really embarrassing.
Oh my God. I watched Sherrod do that once.
Somebody in spring training asked me to autograph a baseball. I was like, dude, you don't want me to do that. I was like, please don't.
What did they think you were, Bartolo Colon?
They just saw a guy on the other side of the. It was back in the old days when it was like really when spring training was when the Sox were huge.
Yeah, everyone was a celebrity, even the media guys.
It was before they moved into. JetBlue. It was City of Palms, and they had the practice facility in the really shitty part of town.
Yeah.
And just anybody on the other side of the rope was royalty because it was like everybody wanted to get at the Red Sox. It was packed all the time. So I'm just hanging there like sticking mics in players' faces, and they're like, "This guy's got to be somebody." And I was like, "Oh, dude, no."
You actually did it?
Oh yeah, I had to. I felt bad.
You have to.
It was terrible.
I saw Sherrod sign a basketball
I asked Dan
once.
Shaughnessy for an autograph when I was like 16 years old. I saw him at a McDonald's in Newton, and I asked him for an autograph. And I've told him that before. Let's get to a couple
that's
those are my heroes: Shaughnessy, DuPont, McMullen, Will McDonough, Bob
Well,
Ryan.
they're all very proud of you, John.
Those guys who wrote for the Globe, oh my God, those guys were gods for an aspiring media type. Let's get to some super chats. Tatum already top 5. Step back is here to stay. Curtains for the league. I was just talking about that earlier, John. Thank you for the super chat. Agree 100%. Game tied at 53, Bancaro. Pissed off Tony Brothers. This is X3, who's been contributing a lot lately. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you,
X3.
And it was a terrible mistake.
Fifth foul. Yeah, you're right. And credit to Jalen. He went at him hard. He picked up both those fouls, 4th and 5th, which
got him to bite.
Huge. Also, Shatter God. Love you guys. Literally go to bed listening when I miss it. I love the 12 more. Check it out. Hop on that merch store for real.
12 more.
Who should we hope for in the next round? We're going to spend a lot of time.
I'm actually losing money on some of these items with this discount.
Yeah. We're gonna.
That's how much I want people to.
We're gonna get there for sure. Thomas Sturtevant. Thank you so much. Marcus Salsi, good win. On to the next round. Thank you for contributing.
Salsi, good win indeed.
JCR, what's it going to take for Tatum to be recognized outside of Boston for what he's doing for this team? This series alone should overcome the hate. Look,
another chip.
You know what?
Let's get back to what we were talking about. 100%. Go ahead.
I'm starting to think that there might not be anything he can do. It might just be the world we live in. And it's not only Tatum. Like, look at a guy like Jokic, as great of a player as he is, arguably the greatest player, since LeBron, let's say. And he can't even get MVP. Like, he's probably the best all-around player in the NBA, probably has been for the last 5 years, and you can't get MVP. I'm sure Denver fans are saying the same thing. I don't even care what the national media or audience thinks about Jayson Tatum. Let him be late to the party. I think everyone already is late to the party. He's easy to dog. I get it. He can be a little corny. He can be quiet. All those things that make him maybe not the quote unquote.
Bobby's texting me. He doesn't know he's on camera.
Face of the league. Hey, Bobby. I don't care, because at some point they'll realize it. And it might be when he's lifting up the finals MVP trophy this year. Maybe that's when people will start to realize it. But I don't think Tatum can really do anything more on the court, except maybe rah, scream a little bit more and huff and puff and do this thing that everyone likes to do like all the time. Like, maybe he does that a little bit more. Maybe like people will like him more, but whatever. At this point, he's playing the best basketball of his career.
Mike is coming through his earbuds, not his microphone. If you can adjust that in the field, we'll put Bobby back on. This comment is my ability to, well, I lost my focus. Read the comments. Top tier. Thank you. We're trying to get through it because we don't want to leave you guys hanging there. But James, thank you, is another longtime viewer here. Appreciate it. Yeah, that this is the magic of ADD, right? Or ADHD. A lot of balls in the air. You can walk. You can walk and chew gum sometimes. It works for you. Guys, give me a thumbs up when Bobby's okay, and we'll get back to it. Sounding like, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Who? You?
Yeah. Okay, you can.
Yeah, you're terrific. The Tatum thing, Jimmy, I've said this before. I think so much of it is not based on actual basketball. It's superficial. Yeah. I was talking to my students. I went to, we're doing final projects, final papers, and they're writing different columns and this and that. And one of the guys was writing a piece about Tatum being underappreciated. And another student was in there listening to me give him some kind of critiques. We'll get to Jaylen Brown after it, but he's a Warriors fan. I asked him, what do you think about Tatum? He's like, he's good. He's pretty good. I was like, pretty good? I was like, where would you rank him? He's like, top 15. Outside top 15.
Physical and also push the pace. Did something change tonight at the half where you kind of realized you wanted to change your approach and kind of set that ripple effect to the rest of the team?
Just being aggressive. I thought in the first half, having a tough go it took me a minute to kind of get warmed up a little bit, but in the second half, I felt a little bit better to start the third quarter. But definitely something I got to, be better at, just starting the games. And that's usually what I do. I'm usually the one to throw the first punch, but, my body didn't feel great until that second half.
Jaylen, you guys talk a lot about how you need to win games differently throughout the course of a season. But this was 5 games, an entire series of having to play differently than you're used to. What was that like, trying to maintain that for five games? And what was the process of sticking with a different kind of play when you probably were looking or hopefully trying to find something different?
Yeah, Orlando did a good job of trying to make us play a different style of ball. And I think we adjusted to that well. I think, going into the playoffs, everybody was concerned with our three-point shooting. They wanted to take away our three-point shooting, or do we shoot too many threes? Can we win games? And I think, we didn't shoot a lot of threes in this whole entire series, and we had to still, win games in the trenches. So I think it was a great challenge for us, and I think that it's a great step for us moving forward and a series that we can learn from.
And you probably don't look at it as sending a message or anything like that, but as you progress, there are still a few more series that you hope to have. Teams are looking for a blueprint a way to beat you guys. You guys won this series 4-1 playing this way. Do you think that does send a message to other teams that you can try taking away our 3-pointers, but we do know how to win?
You could say that. For us, I just look at every experience as an opportunity to learn. So that was a great learning experience for us to go through a full playoff series, having to be physical, having to get in the trenches, rebound, flagrant fouls, play through it, physicality, play through it, and still find ways to win. I mean, that's what, one of the challenges, people would have said before the season, take away their 3-point shooting, playing physical. And I think we responded well to that this series. So that's something that, we'll continue to build on, but that's great to have that in our back pocket and take that going forward in the playoffs.
Jaylen over here, you mentioned it took about a half to get your body right. Was that the knee?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, but for sure, definitely something that continuing to just trust the medical staff and everything, just taking it one day at a time. But I felt a lot better in the second half for sure.
To that point, how important will the rest of this week be before the round 2 begins?
Oh, it's great. I'm not sure when's the earliest that we'll play next week. Anybody know? We don't know
Sunday,
yet.
Monday,
but whatever it is, I'm gonna take advantage of that and be ready to go for whoever's next.
Jaylen, just kind of following up, John. Just basically, how good did it feel to get one series in the books? It's hard to win in the NBA. To get out of here 4-1 and do your jobs tonight.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's we don't take it for granted. I've been able to play in a lot of basketball in the playoffs, and each win, each time we advance, you don't take it for granted. So I'm grateful to be able to move forward, to get to play in the second round. We did a great job from a coaching staff, organization, everybody, for us to advance. So I'm looking forward to what's next.
Jaylen, does it say good things about the mindset that you guys played with when Banchero picked up that foul and you hit the free throw afterward to go ahead? You guys kind of seized that moment and never let them really get back into it at that point?
Yeah, I mean, he's the life source for their team, and he's a phenomenal young player. Like he can do it all. He's so talented and skilled, and he's been leading them, throughout the year. He had a little bit of an injury to start the year, but he was on pace to having a really good season, and then I think he had a really good series versus us. So I think the future's bright for him. But once we saw him get in foul trouble and then hang his head, we were ready to go. So we just took advantage of that from there.
Jaylen, kind of scoping out a little bit, you tied Tommy Heinsohn tonight by winning your 17th playoff series as a Boston Celtic. I'm curious, the Celtic City doc is going on. And they had all the booing with the draft stuff. You've come so far. I'm curious what your reaction is. 17 playoff series won now.
I don't take none of it for granted. This is my 9th season and, my 9th or 8th playoff run. So I don't take any of it for granted, to be able to be in the midst of some of the most winningest players in this franchise with a lot of upside still in front of me. I'm very grateful. So I'm excited to move on to the next round. I'm excited to keep adding to that legacy. Here in Boston, it's about winning. It's not about just getting out of the first round. So I'm looking forward to advancing. It's the playoffs, and yeah, this is what it's all about.
Jaylen, you've talked about the role that pushing the pace plays and how you define Celtics basketball. How much did you feel like it was on you to set the tone in that regard and continue to carry that out consistently, especially with the way that they were defending you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was important. They wanted to slow us down, and they wanted to force us in like one-on-one matchups. So we had to make plays. I think that's what it just came down to. They were just daring me and JT to like beat us one-on-one, and JT accepted it, and I accepted it. We just made plays, just being efficient. You know what I mean? Getting to our spots, et cetera. So, our pace definitely helps with that because it's harder to guard when you have pace. But even if the game slows down, I think we still had the capacity to make plays. So I think it was just a good overall learning experience from this series. We take some of this into the next.
Jalen, there was a moment in the fourth quarter where you looked over to the bench. Were they saying anything, or was that just heat of the moment, competitiveness that was?
Nah, it's just competitive basketball, playoff basketball. No, shout out to Orlando. They did a good job competing. They're a good young team. Nothing negative to say whatsoever. It is what it is. One team had to move on to the next round. And fortunately, it was us. But much respect to those guys over there.
Cut it. Let's done. We're out.
The chat shines when Tatum's at the podium. I mean when Jalen's at the podium. Really good stuff. Bobby, I know you want to get back into the locker room, so we'll just turn it over to you and you can talk about literally anything.
Yeah, crazy game. And I'm sure you guys hit the big topic there, the power stuff. But the way they unleashed late to me.
We were talking about bar fights and gorillas. So we haven't done much. Go ahead.
The gorilla thing is intriguing, but
it is. We'll circle back to it later. Go ahead. Talk basketball.
Yeah, amazing how the game just opened up. Everything that was held down all series to the maximum completely broke out. Pritchard gets going, Hauser gets going, Cornette's rolling to the rim again. All that stuff starts happening just because Paolo goes out. It's a 20-point swing after that, and then it's 30-point Gino time in the fourth. I mean, we were going back to Orlando, John, in that first half. It was done. And then that happened
Bobby,
to start the third.
You
It's
were
pretty
going
crazy.
back to Orlando. No one else was. You got to let this one go.
Hey, listen, I was wrong about my prediction, but I was right in just how grueling this was going to be. And it was as hard as you could ever imagine. Everyone said it after the game. I don't think any of us imagined. We all knew it was going to be tough to find threes. But did any of us sit here and think we'd see a half where the Celtics went 0 for 6 from three? A team that shoots 63 sometimes.
That's the craziest stat.
Out of this world. And then they closed 13 for 18. So still only 26 or whatever at the end of the game there, 25. So the Magic held them down from three all series. I don't know if you guys heard Al, but he talked about how they had to play a different way. And I think that's going to benefit them long term. I think Pritchard's agreed with that. And they found ways to deal with frustration of missing shots, not having shots there. And for Tatum, especially, I know you talked about the fire there, Jimmy, right before Jalen talked, and him getting a little more, I think, expressive out there. There was a great moment early in this game where he got bumped once, bumped twice. He's bumped way out to half court. He just waves off the ref,
Jason,
then just goes right back down.
3 straight games now with 35 points.
Bobby, we got Tatum up. I don't know if you want to go check that out.
Obviously, you know what you're capable of doing,
gonna hang?
but it's a kind of a departure from what you've tried to become over the course of the regular season, especially post All-Star break when you were averaging about 7 or 8 assists. What was it that made you had to become just kind of like a takeover guy for so long, so much of this series? What were they trying to do? What were they doing that made you have to do what you did?
I said it earlier. We're very talented. We can win in a bunch of different ways. They kind of, went to the extreme, right? Really trying to take our threes away, switching everything, basically inching out, not helping. It was tough. Just from like a assist and playmaking standpoint, they just weren't really opportunities because they were just leaving guys on the island. So just whatever the game called for. Tonight it opened up a little bit more. They went zone. They had some different matchups out there, so they had to play a little differently. So I was able to try to play make and distribute a little bit more today. But yeah, they just kind of forced us to play a little differently.
And we talk about what your teammates are capable of, but they did have to kind of stand and watch you and Jalen a lot of this series. For guys who are capable of doing a lot of scoring, what does it say about them that they nobody forced the issue really this series. They said, okay, it's you guys doing it, and we're just gonna have to sit and wait, and just whatever happens next series happens next series.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a balance, right? You don't want it to be stagnant, right? We want to utilize everybody on our team. That's what makes us who we are. I think in Game 4 and tonight we had some off-ball movement, and I think getting out in transition just kind of helps everybody be involved. But sometimes it does call for a matchup that we have, and we get to our spacing, and you got to trust the guy with the ball, whether it's myself or JB or whoever, to make the right play. If it's attacking your man and playing off 2 feet and getting to the cup 5 times in a row, whatever, that's what we gotta do. We just gotta make the right read.
Jayson, I felt like Jalen was very intentional about pushing the pace in the series. Really, all you guys were after Game 3 when they tried to bog you down. Why was that important to get the ball up past half court faster? What did that do for your offense?
Yeah, I think playing against a set defense, like them, they got a bunch of capable defenders. They switch everything. So just playing against a set defense the entire time is tough. So just finding opportunities where, you can push the ball ahead and create some advantages, help us out.
Jayson, the Magic obviously embraced physicality throughout the series. I'll kind of mention that you guys kind of looked past that, and the goal was to just win the game, I guess. How were you guys able to do that, even though it was a pretty physical series?
Just whatever the game calls for. I say it all the time. We can win a quarter, a game, a series in different ways, and we showed that this series.
Jayson, how were you guys able to kind of turn the tide there in the second half when Paolo went out?
Got him in foul trouble. Just understanding that, he's their best player and he really, drives them. So he got in foul trouble. He had to sit, and we didn't really like the way we played in the first half, and we were only down 2. But we just stuck with it and kind of turned it up a notch, and the game was able to open up for us.
You put a lot of pressure on yourself throughout your career. I watched Celtic City, saw you say you were devastated when you lost the finals. Now that you've won a championship, this is your first series since. Is there any freedom to that? Is there any change mentally there? Does that unlock anything in you?
Yeah, I said it. This season was like the most relaxed and carefree that I've been in my career. Understanding that, we won last year and we accomplished the ultimate goal, and you kind of got that monkey off your back. So, obviously the goal is still the same this year to win and compete for a championship. But I've just enjoyed this season of playing carefree basketball and not having that hang over my head. And it's been fun to do. I just have just a sense of freedom that I've just carried this season, with that.
Does that change your play on the court, that sense of freedom?
Just kind of allows me to focus on the task ahead. I'm not worried about trying to prove anybody wrong or anything like that. It's understanding I know what I'm capable of. I know what we are when we, play a certain way. We've shown that. So it's all about, getting to that level.
You've had players, kind of like more veteran star players, kind of mentor you over the years. And now with Paolo, it's another kind of younger player coming up now that you've helped mentor over the years. What's it like competing against the guys that you've kind of helped show the way? And what is it like being in that position in the league now?
It's cool. I got to talk to him a little bit in the hallway after the game. I didn't say 2 words to him during the series. That's tough, but that's part of competing. Just trying to have that edge throughout the series. But I couldn't be happier for him and the player that he's become. From Duke and year after year. He was unbelievable this series. He made it tough on us. He's a matchup nightmare, and he's only going to continue to get better and better. And I'm certain that we'll have many more battles, in the upcoming years.
Jayson, do you feel like the way you guys finished that third quarter when you kind of saw an opportunity and seized it says kind of a good thing about your mindset as a group on how to attack when an opportunity presents itself?
I'm good. I mean, yeah, we're a really good team. We're a really smart team. We understand who's on the court for us and what our strengths are. And, you know, we read the lineup on the other team and, you know, we know what the advantages are and we realize it in real time. And, you know, we have an answer for, you know, whatever the problem is. And, you know, we just get right to it.
Jayson, starting with game one with the wrist injury and for the whole team, it just seemed like an uncomfortable series. You guys kind of.
All right, good.
He's the player of the game. I wanted to give him his due, but I don't think we're going to learn. I don't think we're going to learn anything. We might learn something from Bobby Manning, though. So, guys, if you're still listening to Tatum, fill us in if he says anything we want to circle back to.
No one's listening to Tatum. It's all good.
And we'll play it later.
If you want to listen to it, you can find it on the CLNS Celtics YouTube page in full HD.
You can.
Shout out Ricky and Ahmed over there.
Bobby, we were talking about Tatum getting his due before, but honestly, spin the wheel and go in any direction you want.
Yeah, I was just saying right before he went there that there were some fiery moments for him in this series. There were moments where the three disappeared for him and he took it to the hole and finished through contact, got to the free throw line 11 times each in each of these last 3 games, 12.3 attempts per game, and he hit all of them. I think he hit every single free throw over the last 3 games here. So ridiculous stuff. I know you mentioned the 36 points a game, John. Out of this world, coming back from the wrist. Looked like he aggravated it last game as well and still powering through it. You see him flexing, you see him uncomfortable, and he's still effective. Definitely an all-time series for him when you stack it up. I thought last game was one of his 10 greatest games we've ever seen, considering the circumstances. Tonight, important too. No one scored double figures in that first half other than him. And they would have been down by, you know, at least 8 to 10 if he wasn't able to be as effective as he was there. So he set a tone early. Credit to Jalen for turning it around and inflicting the fouls. I know you guys mentioned that. On Paolo to start the third quarter. And those two were just mostly rolling as a tandem, given that the Magic were going to play them straight up, take everybody else away, and dare them to beat them. And there were ups and downs, especially for Jalen in this series, but those two guys had to beat the Magic defenders again and again and again. And Tatum especially did that as the series progressed, especially.
Facts, my dog.
No, don't do that to him. 37 for 37, Bobby, for free throws there. The thing that just blows my mind, and we threw out the stats earlier, the efficiency. You don't see 35 points on 16 field goal attempts ever. And like we were talking about it, the 3-point attempts. And I know that's not optimal. You really do want Tatum we always say in the 7 or 8 range, not the 10 or 11 range there. But just how Mazzulla talked about his patience, assertive when he needed to be, but he didn't force the issue tonight. It's just a beautiful game all around.
Brilliant.
From him.
Brilliant. I especially love that stretch closing the half. I think they're down 5 or so at that point, or 7. And he just goes to the rim twice in the final 30 seconds there. He had that bad foul that you mentioned on a text chain, John, giving up the N one the other way that put them back a little bit. And then he just responded by attacking the rim. A perfectly played 2-for-1 there to close the half. And then he dunks right before the halftime buzzer there. So, again, he held them in it early. He pushed them ahead late. I loved his performance throughout the series, even though there were limitations for other guys in the series too. I love the way Pritchard broke out late here. I loved seeing Cornette finally do something.
He did.
It was so hard to watch him.
Bobby, release the
first half.
Press publish on that feature you've been holding on to.
Loading.
Publish it.
Yeah, we'll see. Next round could be better for him, but he was awful offensively in this series, which was tough to watch. Pritchard scored 3 points over the last 2 games, went in the halftime with 2 in this game. Hauser, we mentioned it. He didn't score till game 4. He got rolling midway through this game and then helped them slam the door in the second half. So that bench especially finally unleashing.
They needed something.
After just being horrible in Orlando was great to see it end this game.
and just find a little bit more movement, getting the Magic a little bit in rotation. I think so much of that had to do with Tatum being in such control of the game that you had to pay him a little bit of extra attention there. And, the ball started moving a little bit better, created some shooting opportunities. Celtics made the most of them. 5 of 8 from 3 in the third quarter. Floodgates open there in the fourth, and they just started knocking down everything. Pritchard, as we said, 10 points, 3 rebounds. Again, not going to say it in this stat line. His defensive contributions were really, really, really big again in this game. He really held up. Here's Pritchard
Do you have those Forsberg numbers? Oh yeah, let's hear him.
Here's Pritchard in the locker room after.
I'll pull those up.
Yep.
That he went out the last 3 games.
I wasn't necessarily trying to have his impact. I was just trying to play hard, and obviously, defensively, Drew was unbelievable. Can pick the ball every time, just make, and then we have stars defensively that you're not going to have the ball at times, but when you do have it, you got to take advantage, hit in key moments, stuff like that. So just being efficient in your moments. Something I want to be known for. I've said that, being a two-way player. I know people in the past want to say that, I've maybe been a liability, but that's something that I'm trying to strive to overcome and be really a great on-ball defender that can just, take people out of the series.
Your numbers were really good during this game, guarding Paolo and Franz. Was that something that were you focused on those matchups going into the series, knowing that they were probably going to target you a little bit? Just
I probably figured they were, but I was just always where am I at my best is ball pressure.
Hammering away.
That's if I play them into my game, then I have the advantage. But obviously, if I let them, they catch you down to the block, they're 6'10". That's more their advantage. So if I can push the catches out and just make things tough every time, then I should be all right. And that's kind of what I strive to do, and I feel like I did a good job.
Did you feel at one point that they no longer wanted to? It seemed like at one point they were not really hunting that.
They stopped going to it. I think because it was just, for them, it was having to work extra just to even get down there, and even if they didn't, having to think about dribbling every time and what moves. So I think I did a good job in that area. Sure. Yeah, their game plan was just, after the first 2, was just not to let any more threes happen, and they were going to let isolations happen. So obviously we went to Orlando, and we just put the bench and stuff. We didn't get any looks for shots. Okay, that's their game plan, but eventually, water finds its level, start to make plays, and it was like an avalanche in the second half.
Hard to keep the defensive intensity, when you're scoring games 3 and 4, obviously nobody wants to drop off, but would you feel like you were able to overcome that mental hurdle?
For sure. Obviously you want to score, but it's just it's not possible every game with the people we have on our team. Sometimes they take that load, and so how can you make an impact? And for me, it was just every game being ball pressure and just getting into the ball, making it tough every time. So I just try to leave my impact on stuff I can control. Sometimes I can't control if I'm going to get shots or have that. I can control my effort defensively and trying to rebound.
How challenging was the series, and how much do you feel like you guys can benefit from it?
They're a really good team, very physical. So it was a physical challenge. I thought defensively they're probably the best team defensively we've seen at guarding the ball. So it was definitely a good challenge, very physical. So it was great.
Thank you, man.
Bobby brought the Razer phone out for that video, I think. My goodness.
Are we on here?
There he is.
Hi, guys.
I think the quality was fine.
I think it was fine.
You think it was fine? Okay.
I think it was the
I think
internet.
your headphones
That was
are not.
That was a Noah and Bobby exclusive.
Come on, you can't complain after that.
What?
No, it was good. Oh, it's just you two there?
No. It's not you guys. I think we're having glitchy editing issues. That there's nothing wrong with that sound.
We had no issues with the questions. It was a great line of questioning from both of the
Thank you so much.
Really, really good. And Noah, just before you hopped on,
who had the better questions?
Noah did.
We'll let the chat.
But right
It's
before
Noah.
that, we were giving Pritchard his flowers right before we played that sound.
I pulled up the number, John. 2 for 8 against.
It's
Powell
funny
in
because
the
the last 2 games you guys waited for me to talk about Pritchard, and this time you guys did it before I got on.
No, but we were specifically talking about the defense, which is a question that you'd asked there as well, on how he had, played so well because they hunted him and it didn't work. And it, takes a team out of its rhythm when you're trying to hunt a guy and you're not getting what you want out of the deal. We've seen it with, we saw it with Porzingis all series. And Pritchard was super effective there, but it's just generally speaking good to get something out of the bench today. Definitely will bode well heading into the next series, but there's no way, as Pritchard just said there, calling Orlando the best team they've played all year, and they did play OKC twice in terms of being able to defending,
did he say that? I didn't even hear that in real time.
Best on the ball, best team in terms of defending the ball.
I mean, you could see it. The way they attached to the Celtics ball handlers, played up and prevented them from getting any space on their threes, especially, was just out of this world. And you go up and down that lineup. I know there's some guys you think of as great defenders there, but I think it's just the team and the intensity and the philosophies that they have as a defense that allows each of those guys to just play up to another level. This was so impressive, not only because of those individual efforts, but just the way they bogged down every game. I said it to Corrales, who sat next to me during the game. I turned and said, every second of every game, almost up until the second half, has been played to the Magic style. It was crazy how they took the Celtics out of their game for every single minute leading up to that.
I think the big difference between the Magic and almost every other team in the league is that they have no weak points defensively. Like Cleveland has a good defense, but you have two guys you can hunt all the time. And the Celtics, that's their whole offensive philosophy, right? Is go at the guy that can defend. And they never had a weakness on the floor.
Cole Anthony got there, but that was
he barely played though. And so I think that's kind of where the league is heading though. It's now about like teams' weakest links because everybody is trying to exploit those mismatches. And that's why like if the Magic acquired some star player that doesn't defend, like this whole thing would kind of change. So they can't do that. They have
you know what I was starting to think about yesterday? I said it on the pod.
Yeah, they may actually score.
Could you imagine? I thought about Drew, but that doesn't work. Could you imagine Giannis on this team?
Yeah, they would be really good.
I think we got to start to think about that.
So you guys think if a team just added Giannis, they'd be
they
good?
Can't.
Yeah.
I just think they need.
Whoa. Come on.
This is not my take.
So just adding one of the three.
I'm ready to not talk about.
Well, think about how he fits with that style, crashing into people, defending, not shooting at all.
Though. They
don't want
Drew Holiday would be perfect for this team.
He would, but I don't think that works. I was looking at
that the other day. Noah, you know what the chat's going to do with that comment, right?
What?
Noah wants to trade
say
Drew.
Holiday's gonna. You just can't do that.
You guys suck.
It's not you guys.
Don't look at me.
Those guys.
I can't see the chat right now, so I can't. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, it's good that you
can. The reason we talked to Peyton was because Noah asked a great question pregame about Drew, who was missing the last 3 games here. I want to see what the number was with him off the floor to end the series, but the Celtics were way worse with Drew out of the series over the last 3 games here. And unprompted, Jamal Mosley said Pritchard has filled his shoes. He's been defending. He's been doing the Drew thing. And even though he only had, 3 points over the last 2 games going into this one, he went right to Pritchard and was like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, I loved covering Jamal Mosley, by the way. I think that he's just a straight shooter and was willing to
I didn't agree at first, but I got there today.
Yes. But one of the things that was interesting, he said like it's majorly different. That was what he said when I asked him how different it is to prepare for this team without Drew Holiday. And I listened to some of the Orlando reporters, like they viewed his absence as like a massive inflection point in this series. And so I don't know. We didn't get a ton on Drew today. You asked Joe before the game. He didn't say much, but you needed somebody to fill that void, and he's not Drew Holiday defensively. He's never going to be Drew Holiday defensively, but he's a lot better than he was 2 years ago, and that might have been the difference in this series.
And I love Pritchard saying, "Yeah, I'm not Drew."
The thing you mentioned.
Al too. Al was like, he's not Drew.
Yeah.
You can't. The Magic rely on this level of defense to be the Magic. Because if you bring in somebody else who's a shooter and all of a sudden you can hunt mismatches there, and that's just how they have to play to have their identity. It's again the magic of what makes the Celtics who they are is you have all of these guys who can defend and are such versatile defenders while also being offensive. It's basically been like Danny and Brad's dream finally come to fruition over this time. Athletic, switchable, positionless. Like I forget which broadcast it was that they were just gushing over the Celtics, like subbing out Pritchard for Cornette. And it's like, it's so weird that they'll do that. Like they're subbing out a 6-foot guy for a 7'2" guy and just playing that way now. And, just their ability to do that. And most teams just can't do that at all.
I like that move. I like that move coming out of half.
Yeah. And the Celtics are such a team that, again, you you can't have any more than a single defensive weakness out there on the court at any given time because they'll just eat you alive.
I have a question for you guys coming out of this one, and it's the biggest question I've had in this series.
I'll take the gorilla.
Me too.
Do you know about that?
Yes.
Do you feel better?
It's like
about
this is the last friggin' year I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah, she's done. She wishes they lost in the series.
No, I don't wish they lost. I wish
She's
they
had
won
that
in
expression
5.
on her face for a while. Yeah, what's the question, Bobby?
So, do you guys feel better about the Celtics that they went through this, that they persevered through it in 5, that they found a different way to win here? Or do you feel worse that a team can play this style against them and really throw them off their game?
I'll start with as ugly as it was to watch, they won one game by 17. They won by 25 tonight. They won another game by 10. Like, it wasn't as bad as it looked. Like, it looked ugly, but
The offense was bad.
the offense was bad, but it doesn't really matter because that's, their offense wasn't terrible. It was the pace was so bad, but their points per possession were not terrible. And what Joe pointed out when I asked him about it post game was their drive rates were way up and their free throw rate was way up. So it was just different and it was way less fun to watch. Like, I like when they shoot threes and guys are running off picks.
So does Al.
Right. Al was funny there. But so I actually think as much as it felt like they didn't have like a great control of the series. If you look across the league, they had one of the best net ratings of all the teams that played in the first round.
I'd give credit to the defense, though. And I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
It's a good question because I was definitely frustrated watching this series for the majority of it. And I was a little bit disappointed that the Celtics couldn't. At the end of the day, they won in 5 games, so they did take care of business. But when I looked around and I saw what Cleveland was doing to Miami, and I saw what OKC,
An abysmal Miami team, though.
I know,
comparatively.
I know for sure, and you got to take all those things into consideration. So I don't think I leave this series. I picked the Celtics to win in 5, and they won in 5. So I can't really say
picked
that.
4, I thought.
I did pick 4. You're right. So in that
I
sense,
tried to change it.
No, I forgot. I did pick 4. I thought the Celtics should have swept them, and I've already admitted that the Magic were a tougher opponent than I gave them credit for. But at the end of the day, the Celtics won in 5. As Noah pointed out, 2 of those games were basically blowouts, game 1 and game 5, right? And so I'm not like super I'm not really on either side heavily like concerned or commending them for the way they did. I do like the way, if I have to talk about players, I really like what I saw out of Tatum, these last couple of games here, and just his ability to sort of take over games. And I think we've all been kind of, he's not that he hasn't done that at points before, but I think specifically in the playoffs, a lot of people had been kind of wondering if he was going to be able to take that leap. And I think so far it feels like he has. So that's a positive, a big positive for me.
Whether this was good, again, not to keep going back to it, I did think it was kind of like this, and I agree with Noah's point is like I felt it would feel shitty and ugly and like just not like beautiful. I didn't think the whole series was going to look like the third quarter looked, I just didn't think the Celtics would be able to do that to the Magic all the way through. I respect the hustle, the fact that they do what they do and they do it well. It's a good defensive team. And we've talked all season long, physical athletic teams throw the Celtics off their game. And that just simply means it makes it harder for them to just go full Celtic and do whatever they want all the time, exploit matchups, get teams in rotation, get open threes. It's just a hard team to do that against. So that would be tougher. I just didn't think they had the firepower there. So again, it's not a bad test, but I think one of the things, the Celtics, they did this a lot down the stretch. They played different lineups. They played different matchups. They tried different combinations, different substitution patterns, and different styles, and they've proven that they can win more than one way. And I know Joe keeps saying, I'm not dependent on threes. I'm not dependent on threes. In his perfect world, he wants them to get up the threes because he believes in the math.
I like how he says that, and the team's like, yeah, we like to shoot 1,000,000 threes.
It's almost backwards. In the early days of Joe, he's like, we got to get more threes. And the team's like, we really got to just work on getting it to the basket. Now it's like they get it. They saw the result. So, of course, they want to do it, but they have to you got to play it as it lies sometimes. If they're going to take it away, you got to find other ways to do that. Getting to the free throw line was super important this series. Taking it to the hole, winning the points in the paint battle. I think as Joe talked about a million times, if they don't lose in the margins on some of those things that they could have controlled, which was kind of sloppy turnovers, giving up the offensive rebounds without so much as turning around to see if somebody was nearby. Some of those were totally not caused by the Magic, and some of it was. If they had cleaned that up and played a cleaner overall series, I think it probably would have been a sweep, and we wouldn't have been feeling as like, oh, that was hard. They ran into a good team. They're a good physical defensive team, and I thought they responded well to it.
If they don't have an 11-point third quarter in game 3, they sweep this team. They had an abysmal quarter where they
turned
made
it over 21 times.
Yeah, but even still, they outscored the Magic by double digits 2 out of those 4 quarters. So even that disastrous game 3, they lose by 2. They have a chance to win it at the buzzer, and that's what they did so many things wrong in that game. So again, like sometimes it feels so bad in the moment. Like we talk about that Indiana series, felt like they should have lost like 3 of those 4 games, but ultimately you get judged by whether you're able to come away with wins. And yeah, I think that it kind of did remind me. One of the Magic reporters was asking me if this was like the hardest team they've played in the last 2 seasons. And they kind of reminded me of Indiana, obviously completely opposite, different styles of play, but just the way where it felt like the Celtics were in tough moments, tough situations, but ultimately they just kept coming away with wins.
I think it was the hardest series.
Like Indiana, it takes you out of your rhythm.
It's kind of wild. Yeah,
it's pressure. Indiana puts pressure on you a different way. The Magic put pressure on you defensively.
But it was so easy to score on them.
What did you? I'm assuming you guys talked a bunch about Tatum and Brown, but I'm curious now that we saw 5 games, what you guys thought of Jaylen in this series, because there was a lot to.
I said, look, I tweeted it early. He looked as bad as he's looked. He was a statue in the Franz Wagner drive by. I was like, get him off the floor.
Was killing them. Yeah.
No, but I mean, one time he just watched Wagner walk by and he was like looking for help. He gave up instantly one time. Didn't even engage defensively and was standing.
And then he dunked and the whole game shifted after that. It was weird.
And then and then exactly, I was like, he was a totally different person. But Jaylen said it in the podium. Like I felt totally different in the second half. So this tale of 2 halves, or what it takes for him to kind of work his way into it, is weird, right? Because like, you would think I wouldn't expect him to start slow. I would expect maybe as the game wore on, he'd start feeling it in his knee and this and that, but it's gone the opposite.
Well, he has to sit, and I've been talking about this all year. He sits out 6 minutes in, and it's like a big roadblock in the middle of the first quarter. I always feel like that's killed them. It's tough to take that full first away from Tatum with what he's doing with it, but it doesn't help Jaylen.
I think it must be like a stiffness thing in a sense. Again, we have no information about his knee injury, but because I hate asking those kind of like logistical questions, but I had to ask him that post game about why he's looked both of the last second halves. Like he looked so much better than the first half where it just looked like a different player, like John said. But I think in totality, like if you look at his numbers for the series, he was way more efficient than he was during the regular season. So I don't know what it's going to come out to after this game, but he's shooting like 43% from 3, 90% from the line.
He's playing the post.
I thought he was instrumental in getting Paolo in foul trouble in this game and pushing the pace and stuff. So it's like he's had these moments where he just has not looked healthy and has looked like a statue a little bit. But I think you have to think he had a good series here. That's what I was curious.
He's close enough to the Jaylen we know, I think, to feel.
Or even if he's not, though. But it's like, I don't think he's really that close to the Jaylen we know, but he's still been really impactful.
In terms of productivity.
Yeah, maybe in terms of the output.
Yeah, he doesn't look like Jaylen, but he's been productive, and he's sitting, the short, mid-range there. I think that was important for him in this series. Tatum got there as well. So it's good to know that they have that in their bag, too, because that area was available to them in this one, and they took it. And both those guys, again, they need to beat their one-on-one matchups because that's how the Magic guarded them. And they were both able to do it more often than not in the series. But, to my question, the Jaylen stuff and him ending up back on the injury report, I still don't really know what that means after he wasn't on it in game 2. Being on there the last 3 games, not looking like himself at times, the holiday stuff, and who knows how long he's going to be out. We have zero information on him. He's been ruled out a couple of games in a row, a day ahead of that game. And then even Tatum's wrist, if that, continues to bother him throughout the playoffs coming out of this series, I feel better about the way they responded to what the Magic did against them, knowing that they can actually persevere through that and win different ways. But it did bother them to the degree, and it did beat them up to the degree that I do feel worse when we get to that big point in the future we've been talking about all year where the Thunder can do this a million times better than the Magic can and score and do it with depth.
That's the whole
I feel
ball
better
game.
about the Thunder coming out of this series.
The whole ball game is just simply, first of all, the Warriors are going to do us a favor and beat the Thunder in the conference finals, and then you get a full redemption arc and a better trip.
I would love that.
And a much better
Celtic Warriors finals would be the most fun thing ever.
I was a big Curry fan.
Give it to me. Give it to me there. Look, it's all about margin for error. It always was. Everybody who's mad about like the Jaylen talk, it just simply Jaylen not being 100% gives you against really competitive teams that you have less margin for error could tip the series. It's that simple. Like, can you still win? Yes. Is it harder? Yes. And when you're playing better teams, it's not great. And again, I don't know how you can be a Jaylen Brown fan, talk about his impact, winning conference finals MVP and finals MVP, arguably being your best player in the playoffs, and then say it's no big deal that he's hurt. Like, you can't do both of those
Have people
things.
said that?
Meaning, like, just don't worry about Jaylen. He's fine. Like,
Don't talk about it. Yeah.
Don't talk. If he's less, if at his best, he was the best player in a finals winning team, and he's less than his best now. Yeah, it matters. Like, of course it matters. And if they don't win because Brown isn't himself, everyone will be like, well, if we had a healthy Brown, we would have won. So yeah, it just matters because it gives you less margin for error. That's all.
I think
Doesn't
when they
mean
get
you
to the
can't
late
win.
stages,
Of course you can win. Yeah.
I think given that it's going to be.
Isn't tonight?
I think when they get to the late stages of the playoffs, it's going to come down to Brown and Tatum beating the Cavs, beating the Thunder, whoever's going to be there in the end. And so, are those guys in position to do that at that point? That's what it's all going to come down to, I think.
Yeah, you need
everybody, but I think it's going to be more on them this year. Like,
But
they
you
got
can
a
catch
great.
breaks.
You could.
You can
What were you
catch
saying,
breaks.
Jimmy?
It's matchup specific. You could catch breaks. Someone else could get hurt too, and there's an equalizer. You never know how it's going to play. All things being equal, playing a fully healthy Cleveland or a Thunder team with a less than healthy lineup is harder to win. That's all it is. But yeah, Jimmy, go ahead.
Well, no, I thought tonight was a good example of like bad Jaylen versus good Jaylen. I'm not saying he was the reason they were bad in the first half and good in the second half, but you clearly saw a difference in the type of player he was. And I don't think it was coincidence that the Celtics were a much better team in the second half. I mean, he was the reason that Banchero got taken out of the game.
Yeah.
His aggressiveness, his willingness to draw
What
contact.
a huge pair of plays. Oh my God.
Yeah, unbelievable. And so again, when he's playing like that, yeah, I think the Celtics are unbeatable. When he's 50% or when he's, coming back and his knee is stiff or whatever it's going on, and he's not the Jaylen Brown that we know he can be. I'm not saying that they're going to lose because of him, but they become much more susceptible. And Bobby, to your point,
I think you said it
if
best.
it's going to hang more on those two players, then certainly he needs to be healthy for that run.
I think you said it best. It's the defense. What kind of defense are you getting from him?
Yeah, but I brought this up because I was genuinely curious for your guys' opinions, but I also felt like despite the fact that it was very clear, especially in the last 3 games and in the first halves in the last 2 games, that he was not himself. I was impressed by how he was able to still be impactful in the series. Like overall, he had a very good series. With some bad moments, with some really bad moments, as kind of has been the story of his career and most players. But I haven't really looked online what people have said, and I'm sure people will have lots of opinions over the next few days. But that was my intuition just watching this 5-game series. Like Tatum was massive in these last 3 games, just out of this world stuff. But Jaylen was very reliable when they needed offense, when they needed stops, when they needed different things, with the exception of some stretches where he just didn't look like himself. But that was the whole thing: is he going to be able to play through clearly not being himself? And I think the answer in this series was yes.
Very quickly, moving off the Brown. Well, I mean, kind of Brown adjacent here. He those plays where he draws the fouls on Paolo, obviously, everything flipped since then, even though I don't think it was all because Banchero was out. I think the Celtics kind of woke up in other ways too, but Magic just not being able to go punch for punch or even come close to staying competitive without Banchero in the lineup made it impossible for them to keep it close. They died. But Mosley and I have a lot of respect for the Magic in general and the way that they played, and I thought Mosley was.
I think this is the start of a rivalry.
But did you think that was a really like boneheaded play, coaching malpractice there, leaving him in after the fourth. You pick up a fourth with 10 plus minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I would say
the opposite.
The book on that should be you sit him unless you start taking on heavy water. So you could have brought him back with 4 fouls in the middle of that run, but with 5, you were dead. You had to sit and wait it out.
So we've had a couple of these debates throughout this series. What did you think of the fourth? And then
early in the third, I thought you had to take him out. That's just my opinion.
To take him out.
With the fifth, you had to take him out.
No, the
There's
fourth.
No question about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably should have taken him out in the fourth, at least for a few minutes. There's a possibility that it happened so fast that he honestly didn't even I don't know. It just I looked up and I was like, since when does he have 5
That
fouls?
happens sometimes. The bang bang.
I think it might have happened where it was like 1, 2, 3, where all of a sudden Jamal Mosley might have realized, oh God, we messed up here, or he just said we literally cannot withstand a stretch with him being off the floor.
That's where I was.
I don't know,
and I think we saw that, and I like him keeping him in with 4 because I thought they were going to die without him. And then when he got 5th with 8, 9 minutes left in the third, you got to take him out there. But they get it to 10 with 2 minutes left, and there's a timeout there with 3 minutes left in the quarter. I'd probably go back to him there, even though there's 15 minutes left in the game and he's probably going to foul out. You said it so well earlier in the playoffs. You screw yourself by taking him out. And they go down 25 or whatever a couple minutes later and they're done. And he comes in at the start of that fourth and he's hitting shots and he's fighting.
I'm very liberal, and I think coaches should always leave players out as much as possible when they're in foul trouble. I don't know if you can he is so reliant on Paolo. I don't know if you can risk not having him for a fourth quarter in a game that
But they were dead in the
they
start.
were down by 10. They were down by 10 at that point. That you're saying you would put him in with 2 minutes left in that third. I wouldn't say it was the dumbest thing ever, but it's different than the Jaylen situation that we talked about, where the Jaylen situation, I felt in game 3 with 4 minutes left, and you don't need Jaylen 1000%. It's a little bit different. So that was just crazy foul trouble. You never see a guy pick up a 5th foul at the beginning of the third. So it's kind of you have to throw the handbook out and just go with your gut. And there was no way to manage that foul trouble, honestly, because they were going to go at it and they were going to foul him out.
That reminds me, though, back to that Jaylen conversation. That game 3, more than anything, I thought showed how important he is. Him not being out there with the foul trouble and then them struggling to get to the finish line there without him. So there were a couple of interesting moments in the series like that. Even the Porzingis stuff, I thought him coming back into that game 4 late was a big move by Joe there. Tough coaching decision. You're right. Mosley was probably in an impossible spot there with Paolo, and it's a killer because I want to see the series play out.
And there's probably no other team in the playoffs right now that needs their star player on the floor as much as the Magic do. Without Paolo, they have no chance here. And they just don't have the pieces around him. So that's kind of why it was
It is a killer because I love the way he played in the series, the weight that was on his shoulders, and he just carried it game in and game out. I didn't hear from him tonight, but it probably was devastating for him to not be able to play in that second half and for them to not realistically be able to stay in that game.
Guys, a couple things we want to rifle through. Sorry, before we close it, because I'm way behind on super chats here. We want to get through some of these things here. Throwing it out from Jayson Tatum. I'm just glad this stupid series is over and no one is dead. My goodness.
Yeah.
I can't read this one. 200 yen. I Googled it. It's $1.40, but thank you. But I can't read. I can't read it. Sorry.
Appreciate it.
But we appreciate it.
Yeah, what can you say? Nice. Google Translate that maybe?
Tommy Heinsohn, I love to hear Tatum didn't talk to Paolo until after the series. Remember when people said Tatum was soft? I prefer that. I don't like the friendly stuff.
I like that. He said that in practice going into the series.
I do like that a lot. And then we have this one, which is somewhat nebulous. Noah, answer this, please. But there's no question attached.
Yes, there is. No, it's the one above it.
What's the question?
Which one?
It's this one.
Oh.
There's a question above it.
There it is. Oh, God, I made him pay twice for it. How do opposing fans think of this team? A power duo, a big 3, a full team. I'm too much of a homer to know how we are seen by others this season. Well, we cover the team, so I don't know that we're technically outside or others, but what do you guys think to this question? Noah, you were asked specifically, so really only your answer matters.
Yeah, we're not allowed
so
to
honored.
answer, actually. Yeah.
I mean, I think it really depends. the Magic fans would probably say they're soft. I feel like last year and into the playoffs and early this year, it was viewed as more of a super team.
Yeah.
And I think in the last few months, you've started to see more people giving Jayson Tatum the credit. And I'm seeing more people saying it in person when I'm on the road and stuff, like he's more of the hub than maybe people realized a year back. So maybe a year ago, I would have said like people just view this as a super team and just like 6 guys that are all stars or whatever. And now I think there's more of an understanding or a belief that he kind of really is what makes it all go. And this series has kind of solidified that a little bit too, just because of how, ball dominant he's had to be and how much of the scoring load he's had. But it really does depend on the fan base. Like I've had so many conversations on the road this year with different fan bases, and I think it's very dependent on their experience.
They also won a game without him.
Yeah. Shout out Jalen.
Bobby, you can answer it too. We'll let you.
Outside of the Derek White game, it is
feel
interesting
comfortable.
because you didn't really have big performances from the other guys. Yeah.
Why?
I didn't get asked. It was just for Noah.
Well, and he actually asked the question 20 minutes before he said it's for Noah, so maybe he just wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is something. I think it is something between a super team, which is what people looked at it as last year, and now, as Noah said, it being more Tatum centric. But there's also an ability to win without any of these guys that's pretty unique. I mean, you look at any team, including Orlando tonight, losing their star, they're done. And you can win a playoff game without Tatum. You can win countless games without Brown. You can win without Porzingis for an entire postseason.
But you can't win without Derek White historically.
Yeah. So this is Derek White's team.
Yeah. So the answer is it's all of the above. And the reality is
they're so well coached too. I think you'd start to realize that.
The answer is all of the above.
One of the best coaches.
You have the combination of arguably the best duo in the NBA, but also a separation between that duo where you arguably have one of those guys being a top 5 player in the NBA. So you can say it's all Tatum's team, but you have him and Jalen together, you would put them up against any duo in the league. But then you look at the top 6 in the supporting cast and say, well, those guys alone are good enough. So it's actually all of it. So perception, I don't know that necessarily matters there. It's kind of all of those things. They have everything: an MVP level player, a top duo, and a 3 through 6 that's as good as anywhere else that you're going to find in the league there. So it's pretty much all of it. That's kind of why they won a title and why a lot of people have them as favorites to return to the finals, if not win it, because of, kind of all of the above there. Let's move on quickly, guys, because we've been on for a bit. Detroit wins. Game 5, pushes things a little bit further. Yeah.
Detroit. Come on, Sherrod.
Too soon, Bobby. Too soon.
Yeah. No, in fact, for Sherrod, it's too late. Okay.
Detroit's got to make the comeback official.
So it should
I know
be.
You covered the Pistons.
Come on.
Those are his roots.
God, no.
You've been on the show
do your
for a long
homework.
time.
Nobody ever teaches me anything.
Oh my God.
We got to get lunch.
So we're bad mentors, and
Yes,
you don't know
you're
what
on
Sherrod
LinkedIn.
did. Anyone else you want to take a swipe at?
I'll come up with something for Ginny, but I need a few minutes.
Yeah, you can take your time. You don't have to.
Who do you guys do you have a preference? And again,
Detroit.
I hate these questions because it
Detroit.
really
New York.
shouldn't matter. If
So
you're a championship
here's my thing
team,
about the Knicks.
It doesn't matter, but we want to go to New York because it's a better city.
We want to go to New York.
And it's cheaper.
The hype around that series, the buzz around that series. I mean, we'll have Knicks fans up in the chat. Like the excitement around it, especially
Boston,
leading up
New
to it,
York?
is
Come on,
being
John.
unmatched. Oh my God, I was dreaming of it last year and our dream got crushed. So I'll take it. But man, when it starts, you're going to go, oh, they can't compete. And I would pick the Celtics 4-0 over the Knicks. And I'd have no hesitation.
Oh, damn, Bobby.
So
People will not recognize you.
Okay.
I actually think the Pistons would play the Celtics better than the Knicks would. I think the Pistons can do to the Celtics what the Magic just did to the Celtics.
But you want the Pistons?
I want the Pistons. Something different, something new. I don't think the Knicks will actually be able to compete.
Wow.
I don't necessarily. I don't. Okay, sure. You go.
No, I'm taking Detroit just because I just think Detroit is a team that is a little. They're better built. I think
There'll be more fights, Sherrod. There'll be more like hard fouls. It'll be just like this one. I enjoyed this series a lot.
I don't need another one of these series.
Boston, New York. Come on, let's do this.
Say no more.
You want to watch a sweep?
So logistically,
we're
New York would be a lot
overthinking
better.
it. We're overthinking it. It's the Knicks, it's MSG, it's Celtics Knicks, it's history, it's East Coast basketball, it's all these awesome things. Like,
but it's overrated, John. They can't compete. They can't lay a finger on the Celtics.
First of all, I think they can compete.
This
Just
sweep
because
stuff
during
is-
the regular season they didn't. Just because in the regular season they didn't. Historically, a lot of times those regular season sweeps do not carry over perfectly.
Well, yeah,
to the
let's see how
playoffs.
healthy
Plus
the
you had
Right.
two-
Second of all, I don't know. I mean, some of the late game moments that Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges have had, especially in that game 4, like that's a team that's competitive. And Detroit has been awesome all year, and still New York has a lead in the series for a reason. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as you think. I do think they're a good match for Boston, and we saw that. And I keep thinking about the pick and roll defense of Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, and what a relief that'll be compared to what they've been facing in Orlando.
Oh, the
but
series is gonna be
I
so
think you're
much
underrating them
easier.
a little bit. Like a sweep coming from you is like, it's like making me stressed out. I feel like you're jinxing everybody.
You think I'm always wrong?
No, I didn't say that. You said that.
Those are your words, Bobby.
Bobby,
Those were not my words.
They don't
You can
call him.
rewind that and watch.
They don't call him Bobby.
Noah's
Bad
always
Takes for
right.
nothing.
I'm
Yeah.
always wrong.
I didn't say these are both all your words. Bobby texted me in the middle of the game. You're always right.
I was quoting
Unprompted.
you from earlier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what was that in response to? What was he talking about in that moment?
Just the Celtics winning in 5, I think. Or just
I think she said to me
Brother.
earlier she's only been wrong about 2 things all year. I can't imagine that's right, but I'll take her word for it.
I did say that.
We'll let that slide. I'm with John.
we'll-
I want to see Celtics Knicks. I don't think it'll be a sweep, but I actually do agree with you guys that I think the Pistons could be a harder matchup because of their style of play. They're young, up and coming. They're
Thompson.
physical. They've got a lot of swagger to them right now.
Cade.
Right? I feel like the
Cade's
Knicks.
great.
The Knicks are the Knicks. They lost a little bit of their identity, I think, and I think
East Coast
think-
basketball, John. What about Pistons Celtics? You grew up through that. Come on.
I like that. I grew up through all of it. I grew up through St. Louis Hawks. Bob Pettit. I've seen them play the
Celtic
Lakers.
City
in 2
was
I'm
cities.
excited for you to lock in the sweep though.
Celtic City was
People are
memory
gonna love
lane.
I'm going to say this. I think Celtics
The
Knicks is going to be a
Philadelphia
better
Warriors.
ticket. Like
Do they still play? Go
You were
ahead.
at Wilts
ratings
100, right?
wise, and
The Fort Wayne
Just like
Pistons,
MSG and all that.
My goodness.
I do think that we would end up hating the Pistons if the Celtics played the Pistons. I
Oh
think
my
that there
God,
would
it'd
be
be
a
this
lot of
series
that.
all over again. Oh
Yeah.
my God, beef
So
stew.
I'm cool with either
In the
one.
league, they're so showboaty too.
Yeah,
What would be your prediction for Pistons in that case?
6.
Okay.
If
No,
the
I'd have
other
to look
team
at
can
it. I
play
don't know.
defense, it's 6. If they can't, it's 4. That's Bobby's playbook.
Yeah.
I'm a defense guy, so watching Rockets Warriors, which is another thing me and Noah agreed about, has broken my heart. In
What
many
did we both
ways.
predict for that series?
You had Warriors in 6. I had Rockets in 7, which is still alive.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on Warriors too.
Yeah. All right. So they get the winner there. We don't know when that's going to be. Do you think they'll announce the tentative coming up? Like, either
I
the
think
Knicks,
Knicks
game
if
7.
the Knicks win Thursday, it'll probably start Saturday with
Well,
a
they
long
do.
layoff
So
toward game
Knicks
2.
play game 7 Saturday or game 1 Saturday. Is that how you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking at. So it's going to be a little bit of time before we do one. But as we've done before, should the Knicks win or should we have an opponent declared before then, we'll do a preview show. So we will do some more content between now and then, but we get a little break here. We don't have to go back to Orlando, which is nice. So we'll let you know when we have our next Garden Report. But of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on your notifications. You'll be notified every time we go live or a new video drops. That's the way to go. Celtics move on to round 2 to take on the winner of the Knicks and Pistons. Those guys play again
Thursday.
Thursday is game 6. If the Knicks win, maybe we'll pop up and we'll do a little preview for you. So we'll let you know about that. Final thoughts, guys, before we wrap it?
I had a lot of fun. This is one of the more memorable series I've covered, and I'm hoping this is the start of something between these two teams because it's obviously a little bit of history now. Paolo's awesome. I mean, that guy's just one of my favorite players in the league, and what he did here is really cool. I know the Celtics fans from all the comments, too, really like him. They don't like anyone else on this team, but they like him. And the way the Celtics rose to the occasion against massive resistance was really impressive. This thing was awesome, and thank God we got this over the Miami 60-point wins and Hawks being uncompetitive. This was the series you wanted to see, and I think everybody enjoyed it outside of the bruises and injuries.
Good win.
My only
good
other thought
win.
is that, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say good win, good to move on, but make no mistake about it, Orlando's coming. They're 1 or 2 players away from being really in that top tier of
Giannis.
teams in the East. Well, we talked. I'm not going to hijack your thought there, Bobby, but let's just say the people that drafted Giannis are the folks in the front office in Orlando, which I mentioned earlier. So it's not that big a stretch to think about them pairing up. But
Would you offer Paolo for Giannis?
No,
Who's
never.
not doing superstar swaps? It's so annoying.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah,
also
it's illegal.
the Magic are missing. The Magic are missing 2 good players. I thought the Magic were a top 4 seed when the season began.
Yeah.
I really
They were
did.
fifth
So again,
last year, yeah.
So I thought that they were going to be in that mix there. We did want to put this up here because someone put the hard
Gone
work
fishing.
into it. Yeah. Bye bye, Orlando.
Oh man, we
Cancun.
Oh, 1, 2, 3.
There's
Cancun.
KCP.
Yeah.
I do want to give, so Noah mentioned it, Mosley, how great he was to cover in the series. I do want to give him a shout out. He was very nice to us throughout this series and really courteous and appreciated the coverage and all that and gave some great answers, I thought, throughout.
And he fist bumps all the Magic reporters after every press conference.
Just like Joe.
It was just shocking
Yeah,
to
it was,
see.
it was the opposite.
When I
of
saw
Joe.
that, I was like, what am I looking at?
If Joe ever gave us a fist bump, I think we'd think he was sick or something.
It is funny.
It would be a fist to the face more than likely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it would not be a bump. It would not be a fist bump.
It's funny only knowing what you know and not realizing like that's not the only way to do it. Because there's probably people that are like, I guess the coach just is mean to you, huh? Like, no, they're not all like that.
No, I'm
you know?
pretty
Like-
aware that Joe was not your average coach.
Yeah.
Because we hear from the other coaches before every game. It's just in these series you can feel it more because I think everybody gets a little more
It
uptight
is
during the
always
playoffs and
going to the other coach, no matter who it is always the biggest sigh of relief in the world. I'm sorry, Joe, but
sometimes it's a little boring though. Some of them are a little boring.
at least they'll talk.
But yeah, they'll talk.
At least they'll say words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He says words, Bobby. He just doesn't say the words you want to hear.
Yeah.
You're right. That is true.
Yeah.
My only other final thought was going to be that Al Horford is like frozen
Great
in time.
series.
Just like it's not even. I
Al.
don't even have like much to say about it anymore. It just feels like it's just he's just the most reliable guy at this point. Like you just know what to expect. He's gonna hit those shots. He's gonna hold his own defensively, even though other teams don't think he's going to. He's dependable. He's there for every game. Like it's just year after year, it feels like the same thing. But every time it feels like maybe this is the year where it's not going to be that case. Like he's going to
And
have the
the
exact same playoff run he
competitiveness.
had last year, I think.
Oh my God, the scuffles and just how mad he got about everything in the series and how personally he took it.
He's
It
like
was
Papa
awesome.
Bear. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. He was great. He was great. And I mean, you know, we didn't get into it.
I love it
huge,
too.
but,
No
like,
retirement questions for Horford, right?
That's sitting KP to start the third quarter there and going with Al. You
Good
know,
move.
that's something we talked about. Like, I'm not totally against where I would have thought it was ludicrous.
Be careful, John.
Last year.
The fans don't like hearing that one.
That's another big outstanding question from the series. Porzingis was really bad, and I don't know where that's going to go.
Noah, have
It is a question
ever
going
appeared
into the next
concerned
series.
about what the
No.
fans think? No.
That's just me taking a shot at the fans because we're so mad about that take.
So mad.
They commented on my articles that are not unrelated.
Noah versus the fans.
It was my first Celtics controversy. Okay.
How about me versus the fans? I'm ready to enjoy how happy they're going to be about my sweet prediction.
They are going to be really happy.
They are, but
No,
then they're going to be
because when it
mad.
doesn't
Like
happen.
they're going to be mad, like Noah's mad because you're wrong about everything and you just jinxed it. So like that's a problem, you know.
Damn it.
So that's not great.
Yeah.
Again, not my words.
Listen, if they win in 5, I don't think they'll be too upset.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Really good chat. And you know, like to see the numbers go up as we're here in the playoffs. Everybody is getting into it now. This was good. Got the blood up. You know, got some of the rust out, and now you get a little bit of a rest heading into round 2 against, we will see, TBD, Knicks or Pistons. Thank you guys for hanging out again. Make sure you check out all of Noah's work on Celtics blog, Bobby Manning on CLNS Media, Sherrod Blakely on his personal Substack. And yeah, buy some shit from Jimmy. 12 more is the promo code for 20%. Jimmy's
12
out
more
there
is the
just
promo code.
peddling stuff. If you see Jimmy wheeling a cart around your neighborhood, throw him a buck. 12 more.
Also, I'll say this: there's a rumor that there might be a football-related shirt hitting the merch store very soon, maybe in a day or two. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't know if you guys saw Jimmy was doing customer service all day on Twitter today for fans that were confused about where to find the show.
Good man.
Yeah, we're warmed up. Louise, good to see you. Good to see the OGs.
Let's just
back
say
here.
I got an extra viewer for tonight's show.
That's all you want. One viewer
It was a 10-hour investment to get one extra viewer.
We work for it.
Every
matters.
no, we are. This is guerrilla. This is a guerrilla effort. Oh, speaking of guerrilla.
Oh God.
Oh no, get us off.
100 Noah's versus a vegan gorilla. Who wins?
Gorillas are always vegan. Trick question.
Hey.
Jimmy
Learn
did
all
not.
about gorillas,
Jimmy
Jimmy.
didn't know that.
Oh,
Jimmy did not know that.
He did not
You
know
just
that.
you just told Jimmy something new. He didn't. They didn't cover what gorillas eat in homeschool. He had no idea.
That's one thing.
Googling that along with what was the thing Joe said?
Occam's razor.
Should I ask Joe?
I got a
that
lot of homework
before
tonight.
Practice.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me. I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're gonna do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have
Say
to
it.
feel
You
that
said
way.
it.
Let's fight Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We are not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke